Blades of Time, the PC demo. This is the free demo that's available on Steam for Blades of Time. This game was developed by Gaijin Entertainment, but the console versions were actually published by Konami, the infamous Konami. And it looks like the Steam version is being self-published by the developers. And what that means for those of us is that we don't have to worry about giving Konami our money if we don't want to. But more importantly, you'll be able to play this game with a DRM-free demo. That means once you download the demo from Steam, you can copy the folder and install it on any PC you want. I actually played this game on my $200 laptop. So that should give you some idea about what kind of performance you're able to get out of this game. I had all the settings on my laptop set to the lowest possible resolution, and all the graphic settings were set too low. For this video, I'm going 1280 by 768. Anti-aliasing is going to be turned up along with the anisotropy, whatever you want to call it, just for this video. But what I want to be able to give you is sort of an opportunity to see how this game plays on the demo. This is from stage 3 in Blades of Time. I did a video of this area on the 360. And of course, this PC demo runs at 60 frames a second, or possibly higher, I can't tell, because my display only goes up to 60 hertz. But don't worry about that. What matters is that you're able to play this game for free if you have a reasonably modern laptop. A laptop from, say, like 2 or 3 years ago should be more than enough to play this game. So it's not demanding at all, according to this demo. So this is fantastic news for people who have any interest at all in a game like this. Games like Bayonetta, Blades of Vengeance, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Revengeance. What's that other game? Transformers Devastation, God of War. This is the game you need to play, and now it's free, so you're running out of excuses, kids. It doesn't matter how cheap your laptop is. If your laptop can play an older game like, I guess if your laptop can play, even if your laptop can't play something like Arkham City, this game actually runs better than Arkham City does on my laptop. So you'll definitely want to give this game a try. Again, this is from stage 2, excuse me, from stage 3, so we're inside an area where some of my powers have already been obtained, and this gun has already been found. But because it's a demo, they decided to kind of make the tutorial of this game more compact. The pacing here, as you're going to see, is just a couple of rooms with some traversal and a lot of combat. In this case, you're going to see the gun combat right here. I'm playing with a gamepad, by the way. I'm playing with an Xbox 360 controller. If you have a Windows 10 laptop, you will be able to play this game with an Xbox One controller. So you won't have to worry about that. But of course, Xbox 360 controllers are like $15 these days, so if you're going to play on a PC, you might as well play with that if you have to use a gamepad. This game also works with keyboard and mouse. This video will not be made on a keyboard and mouse, but I'll try it out a bit later just to practice. This game's pretty intense, so I'm not going to recommend you play with a keyboard and mouse unless you're really comfortable playing on such a system, which I am not. I'm barely comfortable playing, Skyrim on a... I'm very comfortable playing Skyrim on a keyboard and mouse. But this game, yeah, this game's definitely a gamepad game for me. It's very demanding. Oh, there it is. Sorry, wasn't paying attention. All right. Yes, that's the example of the time-based, the time manipulation puzzle the game gives you. There are a few of these in the game, so fair warning. If you don't like the puzzles in Bayonetta, the puzzles in this game aren't as annoying, they aren't as time-consuming, but they can be a little bit tricky. So if you aren't going to see any of those puzzles here in this demo, but that's just a taste of the easier time-based puzzles you're going to see in this game. Okay, shoot these parasites with my rifle. I don't remember if this was in the original game, but like I said, it's here in the demo. So you can see this traversal system they got going on here, which is the jumping in between the floating plants. You're going to see a bit of that in this demo, but not a whole lot. There are combat arenas on the full game that are a lot more complex when it comes to this form of traversal. So just keep that in mind. Again, this is just consider this to be a half-hour tutorial on the full game. Though I'll be the first to admit, a lot of the game's mechanics are going to take a lot of practice to understand, and the game dribbles out the mechanics a little bit at a time. So the game doesn't really overwhelm you right away, but once the game teaches you how to do something, it does not let you get anywhere unless you are able to abuse those mechanics as soon as possible. If you aren't comfortable grasping these mechanics in a hurry, you're going to die a lot. So the game tells you what you need to do to beat enemies like this, and it's not obtuse about it. The game makes very clear what you will need to do in order to get past these enemies. The game tells you, yes, you have finishing moves, use them. You have time manipulation moves, use them if you need them. This specific enemies might require specific strategies, and the game will tell you which strategies are necessary. But beyond that, you're on your own. But again, it is not nearly as obtuse as a game like Dark Souls, where the combat is a lot more deliberate and the interface is a lot more clunky. This is very much a straightforward, third-person action game, like Bayonetta, with very, very few QT. In fact, I've ventured to say there are no QTEs in this game. Just a few, button mashy mechanics that are used to set up other moves. So in a game like Bayonetta, you might see a cutscene where you press a certain button, where basically you press X not to die. Dragon's Lair, basically. This game doesn't do that much of that at all. So while you will see a few areas where the game will prompt you to press a certain button, like in the earlier combat where I pressed LB or where I pressed RB, the game does that to execute finishing moves, not to prompt you for QTE attacks like a Bayonetta would. This is a statue you'll see at several points in the game. I consider them to be waypoints. They allow you to unlock certain special abilities that can be made available to you. You do not require any specific special ability to beat any enemy in the game, to my knowledge. I have not lost any fights because I chose the wrong skill. All the skills work, but some are more effective than others, some are easier to wield in combat than others. So if there's a skill that doesn't seem particularly useful to you, you don't have to waste too much time practicing it. These skills right here are not necessary. What is necessary is the regular attacks, the regular vertical and horizontal attacks, the sword attacks and the kick attacks. Those are required. The guns are required in some scenarios, as you saw earlier. Actually, I would say they're not required in most scenarios. They're required in a few specific places where you cannot reach enemies, but if you're really good at this game, you can defeat most enemies, even gun-wielding enemies, without using your guns at all. Against some of the other enemies you saw me fight earlier, they're too fast. You cannot use a gun on them. You're gonna have to use your sword and your You're gonna have to use your sword and your kicks. So there are areas of the game where even though the gun combat is available, you can't really use it effectively because the enemies are just too fast. They won't stand still. So that's a legitimate part of the game strategy, and I actually like that part. You can use guns to make the game easier, but if you want to challenge yourself, you can kind of keep them holstered and just use your swords, and you can get the rewards of doing that. It's like a Buster-free run in Mega Man, I guess. Okay, I've been ranting a bit too much. It's supposed to be like a 10-minute, video, and it's probably not. Like I said, it's a demo, so you get a taste of what's out here. See, you gain range by some of these skills for the demo. They're not going to be that interesting, but you get a chance to sample them all in this demo, so you can try out different ones and see how you like them. In the real game, these aren't as important, as I said, as your regular attacking skills and your ability to make decisions on the fly. So don't get too caught up in which skills are available here. But for certain strategies, you do have options here that are worth playing around with. Like this, slide attack starts to freeze enemies, or maybe you want to set them on fire. Yeah, it depends on the enemies you fight. Maybe some enemies are weak against fire. Maybe some are weak against ice. That kind of thing. So I'll do this. I haven't quite figured out what determines which skills I'm allowed to choose. I think it's based on all those jars that I broke earlier, but the manual doesn't. The game didn't come with a manual. Konami gave this game a 6-page black and white manual. Garbage. And the in-game documentation isn't very specific about that. I'll probably go through the lore in a second to see if it mentions anything about these systems, but it's kind of disappointing. Slide. Okay, I've already established that. Yeah, fire damage on these. So I'm going to do sliding fire attacks and regular fire attacks. Whoop! You can dash and grab onto an enemy. Yeah, this shows up about half an hour into the game. Hold down the left trigger, press RT to dash, then you can mash on the button, mash on the attack button to bring him down. Of course, you don't want to fall and hit the ground, so you have to keep pressing the right trigger to dash. Whoops, and I fell. So this is a mini action puzzle here because the order in which you defeat the enemies matters. As you can see right here, the waypoint was very close to where the enemies were, so there isn't a lot of repetition in this game, really. Because when you defeat an enemy, you end up going right back to pretty much where you died, so it's not so bad. Whoop, and I died again. I was able to beat this pretty easily when I wasn't doing commentary. Let me pay more attention. Yeah, let me not overthink this. Okay? Yeah, just go one at a time. No need to make this complicated. There are more enemies over here, right? Just a second. Here's a dude over there. There he is. Okay. Again, you can use the mouse and keyboard if you want, which might help on the headshots. Headshots aren't really that necessary to me unless you're a speed runner and you're really comfortable doing headshots. I can't speak to things like mouse deceleration. I'll practice with that later, but unfortunately, like I said, I'm not much of a keyboard and mouse user, so I won't be able to give you much information in terms of how the game's performance is playing that way. But again, this is a free demo, so if you want to know how the game controls, know that that's an option for you. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I have some PC gamer friends who aren't very comfortable playing games like this with a keyboard and mouse, so consider that a warning. Like there are people I know who don't like games like Batman Arkham City or Bayonetta or Sleeping Dogs because it's too hard to play an Arkham-style combat system with a keyboard and mouse based on their experience. Obviously, some people are able to do that, like Total Biscuit. He's perfectly fine playing with a keyboard and mouse on a game like this, but I know most people aren't, so fair warning. If you aren't comfortable playing Arkham-style games and you're not comfortable playing with a keyboard and mouse, you're going to have to play with a gamepad. Because in fact, this game is so tough, I would not recommend playing with a keyboard and mouse unless you're really skilled. Because this game's pretty taxing with just a regular controller. And by the way, I was playing the game at 30 FPS on the 360, so I can guarantee you the game's going to be easier to control on this PC version if you're getting 60 frames a second. Probably worth noting that in the original game, on the 360, in the full game, there's a trap here, so that gives you some idea about what's missing. Supposed to press this button here, right? Yep. Okay, so get to see a bit of you'll see a bit of the combat here that I really, really like, which is just straight ahead melee brawling. Okay, press the RB button when it's possible. Watch this. This is not a QTE. Mash on the X button, and then the game's telling me you have to rewind time. Okay, so I'm rewinding time. Now I can press the RB button for a finishing move. This is the puzzle part of the game. You aren't doing QTEs here. You have to actually perform specific actions at a specific time in a specific way if you want to beat some enemies. If you want to beat enemies a different way, you can. Like I said earlier, a combat situation like this, maybe you want to, defeat enemies using a different strategy. I'm using this strategy because it works. But this is actually a very similar fight to the one I had in Stage 2 on my Blades of Time Xbox 360 playlist. That was actually one of my favorite fights of all time. There's a fight sort of like this, where enemies like this will attack you, and you have to use your finishing move to wipe them out ASAP. But unlike the finished game, this game does not feature an enemy guarded by a red time shield. So that means this combat mode is a taste of that finale. So if you want to see how that fight plays out in real time in the full game, watch video 2 of my playlist. That includes the name of the video is literally "This Game is Awesome," because this combat sequence takes place in the final game. Basically, that's the director's cut. This is just the trailer. If you want to see the full fight, you definitely have to play the full game. So this combat right here is just a taste of what you're going to see in that full game. Okay, rewind. And get my finishing move out. Okay. So that's what I need to do to beat the rest of these guys. So now the rest of them show up, and the game has taught me what I need to do to defeat these guys. And again, in the final game, this plays out differently. So everything you're seeing here in this demo is just a trailer of what you're going to see in the final game in this very stage. So no, this demo is not representative of this stage in the final game. It's sort of a repurposing. Okay, RB, down he goes. And by the way, as you see, you probably noticed that when I pressed RB for the finishing move, the enemies all leave me behind. They all get knocked back. So if you're in the middle of a finishing move, there's a very good chance the enemies will be knocked back during that finishing move. And they won't be able to kind of sneak up on you and get cheap hits, at least early on in the game. Again, little things. This game has a bit more polish than I expected in the combat. Because even if you might be able to cheese your way through some of the early fights, but like I said, early on, it's going to take you, you're going to die a lot trying to keep track of everything that's going on in this game. The game makes you earn it, but again, because you have unlimited lives, because the waypoints are sort of generously spaced out, you're less likely to face a lot of really hard fights with a lot of repetition. I remember when I was playing Metal Gear Revengeance, there was a very early fight between a robotic dog, I think it was. And that fight was very hard, but the problem was that eventually it was a boss fight with 3 different enemies in it, and you faced them one after the other. And the problem was that if you got really good at winning the first 2 fights, you would eventually get to the final boss, and basically the third mini boss would show up, and you die right away. And if you die doing that, then basically the game would make you go through the 2 previous fights all over again. So basically the game made you do that fight over and over and over and over again. And basically you had to survive for 3 or 4 minutes so that you can get to the final boss, and then you would just die. So what was the point, right? X, B, Y. There we go. Whoop! Didn't get it off. RB. I know I'm ranting a little bit, but I'll probably be able to be a bit more coherent in a later video. But I just wanted you to get a taste of this. See, that's the end of the demo. So that gives you a taste of what this game has to offer. Yeah, they're speaking Russian because I turned on the Russian language audio. Yeah, but this game has made a huge impression on me based on the final version that I bought on the 360. It's very cheap. GameStop has it used for $5. You might be able to find it new for $15 or $16 on Amazon. And like I said, the PC version is available. The full price version is available for $10 on PC. It was a $40 title on launch on consoles. This is a $10 PC game. Again, the demo is free, and you can copy it without any Steam DRM restrictions to any computer you have. So what I did is I literally downloaded it onto my laptop. It ran perfectly fine. 45 to 60 frames a second. That's with everything on low. If your laptop has a bit more power on it, you can get 60 frames a second very easily. If you want to play, like a console gamer, you can get 30 FPS no problem. In fact, you can crank up the resolution a little bit. I should also mention the game apparently has a 2 GB RAM system requirement, which is what my laptop has. You'll be just fine with 1 GB of RAM and an entry-level video card. I want to say a Radeon 250. It's gonna be Radeon 240 or a GeForce 730 is gonna be more than enough to run this game. Because this game will probably run. This game runs on integrated graphics. So if you have let's say you have a 5-year-old desktop and there's no video card in there at all, you still might be able to run this game. Like I said, it runs on a laptop. So definitely download this game if you want to at least sample what it has to offer. Completely free. Copy it to all of your computers just to see how well it runs. 700 megabytes is the size of this demo. So keep that in mind before you begin, if your data limit prevents you from making very large downloads. You want to hit that cap. So keep that in mind. The final game, I believe, is about 2 or 3 gigabytes. I'll check that out as soon as I buy it. I also got my hands on the prequel, X-Blades. I'll try that out a bit later. But this is a preview of Blades of Time provided by the demo that's currently available on Steam. Hopefully the demo is also available on PSN and on Xbox Live. I'm also going to recommend that any other way you can get your hands on this game, you can do it and do it cheap. The Xbox 360 version is actually cheaper than the PlayStation 3 version, so keep that in mind. But I'm going to do what I can to get the word out on this game, because more people should have played it, especially all you Bayonetta and you Platinum game fans, you God of War fans. You guys should have played this by now. So I'm gonna be sort of an evangelist for this game. So watch my playlist. I'll include a link to the playlist on the description of this video. And if I get my hands on the PC version, I'll be doing some audio commentary for that. I'll also be providing video links to the Spanish language audio that's included with the Xbox 360 version of this game. My playlist includes the French language dialogue with English subtitles. And the PC version includes several other languages. You heard a bit of the Russian. Now let's see what else they have here. There we go. They got Russian, Japanese, German, Italian, and that's it. That's more. That's quite a bit more than most of the games I play. I'll be the first to admit that. Though I should probably say the story's not very good. Don't worry about that. It's not that kind of channel. Trust me, you won't miss it. So Blades of Time is currently available for free on PC, at least the demo is. The game is available for $10 or your regional equivalent. And I'm pretty sure it will be on sale during the next Steam, big Steam sale, about maybe $3 or $4. So definitely keep your eye on it. I'll keep talking about this game. You're going to be I'm going to talk about this game as much as everyone else talks about Overwatch. So just think of it that way. Don't worry, we'll be talking about other games on this channel. I'll be talking this one up for a while. Blades of Time on PC.